Hey, dog fans, welcome back to Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast. If you're looking for an escape from Seattle Mariner baseball, you've come to the right place. Today, we are unpacking the offense, breaking down each offensive position, the good, the bad, and the things that will make me doom text. A quick reminder before we start, make sure to download these episodes and please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred platform. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast J3X. It helps other dog fans find our content. You can also support us financially on Patreon at Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast. The money may go to some therapy for Leah or Coach, getting Jake a UW hat to wear on the podcast, or perhaps some sensitivity training for Trev. So please consider supporting the work that we do. Let's put on the purple and gold, and we will start off strong by addressing the preseason AP poll. The press ranks the dogs at number 17 to start the season. Are we where we should be? Are we high? Are we low? What do we think? Jake, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on the AP poll?
I think they're right where they should be. I don't think that they're sniffing anywhere near a top 10 team, honestly. Until they can show us that they can win on the road consistently against bad teams and maybe spark one or two off against a good team. I think we're pretty similar to last year where we're going to beat the teams that we should beat at home. We can be competitive in a couple of games that maybe we wouldn't be on the road. I think, hovering around 15 is a good spot for them.
Coach?
Yeah, it's very strange to kind of look at the AP poll not being dominated by, overly optimistic SEC votes, but I think we're kind of where we're supposed to be. I think that for the first time in a long time, we've got some depth and some front line talent that could do a lot of good things, and I think the schedule's pretty favorable. So if we finish in the top 20, I think that's probably a good season, but yeah, I think 17 is where it's at.
Trev?
I like 17 for right now. I look at the teams that are right above them, and like if I were to make a tier list on the top 25, I think the tier would stop probably around 13 would be the group that I would feel really like Washington. It would be a tough matchup, where 14, 14, 16, I think those are games that Washington has a really good shot to win. Not that they can't beat those top, upper tier teams, but they're just like teams that have some really good things about them and some, other things that maybe we don't know exactly what they are yet. I mean, Washington has that. USC is going to have that. BYU and Michigan are also going to have those kind of question marks around them. I think that tier ends right around 20. And then those last five, Utah, Iowa, Houston, Missouri for some reason, and Louisville, are kind of like at any given Saturday, except Missouri. They just keep putting Missouri in the top 25 year in and year out, and just so some of those SEC schools have another ranked win on their resume. Because I mean, they're usually a perennial 8-4 team, which that's not a top 25 team to me. But I like where Washington is. It's really cool that a lot of content creators are kind of saying that Washington is this year's like chaos agent, that, they got a shot to move up, but they also have a shot to take out some of those big teams or end some teams' postseason hopes.
Absolutely. I think it's really exciting to be at 17 because I think, is it the first time in the Judfish era that we've been inside the top 20 preseason?
It's the first time we've been preseason anything with him.
Yeah. So it's, to some extent, we have a target on our back being ranked at all. I'm not necessarily convinced at this point that we deserve it, but I'm happy with where we're at because we've got something to prove. And as long as we keep probably the loss total to 3 or less, I think we probably will remain there. But if we get to 4, unless you're Missouri, you don't get to stay in the top 25 if you have 4 losses.
Nice.
I think it's baffling that Trevor wouldn't put Alabama in that second tier. You constantly fighting for your boy DeBoer, and you need to cut it out, man. That's a terrible take. There's no way that you feel less comfortable playing Alabama than you do USC, especially where that program's at right now, especially with where DeBoer's at in that program.
Well, okay.
You would put
Ouch.
so here question. You would put Alabama in the same tier because you said 1 through 14, right? You'd put them in the same
1 through
tier as
13, yeah.
Miami, Indiana, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Ohio State.
I'd put them in the like a team very likely to make the college football playoff. That's kind of my top 13 is that. I mean, and honestly, let's get into postseason talk. The Crimson Tide would be a really tough matchup for Washington because they can throw the ball, and the part of Washington's defense and that's next podcast that I think the defense as a whole is great. I think the rushing defense is very good, and the passing defense is still somewhat unproven with some younger guys and a newcomer at corner specifically.
Coach, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering if Jake had considered the fact that it just means more in the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've heard. That's what
Just
people are
ask your
saying.
boy Paul Feinbaum on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so
it's really
is
good
Austin
news
Mack going
to
to
see the
start for
Huskies.
Alabama?
Go ahead, Jake. Is he going to play
is
at
Austin
all?
Mack going to start for Alabama? Is he going to start?
He might. It's a
Then there's
competition
no way
between
that
him
they
and
can
another
hunt the
guy.
ball.
Well, I mean, they got great receivers. I mean, that's you got William. Oh, we lost him. He got so upset.
No, he was having some sound issues, so he'll probably just bounce. Yeah, no, totally. It's a good debate, though, to kind of call you out a little bit on like who are you more afraid of, playing Alabama or USC. It's an interesting philosophical debate because I think that UW has never had success for the most part going into the SEC territory, and generally speaking, for the last 15 years, we've owned SC.
Yeah, I guess it's just the guys that I think that are like, you're not going to be surprised if you see those 12 of those 13, I guess 11 of those 13, because they're going to have a G6 school in there.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised to see those names in there. Maybe some of it's just like the fact that it's Alabama. I just put them there because
the fact that they could not run the ball last year.
That's what I mean.
And they lost some players on the offensive line. I don't know if they upgraded the running back room. It was that's the worst running back room I've ever seen in Alabama since I was like a kid. I mean, it was really bad, and they had no ability to break anything off, even if they did have holes. So now, and then just the lack of recruiting there, which is kind of weird. Like they're just not the machine they used to be. I don't know if they brought in enough to like make that team from last year better. They just, Simpson was kind of an up and down guy, depending on if he got pressure or not. But he was like the 12th pick in the draft. So how are you upgrading? Like, where are they upgrading? It's still a mystery.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that Kalen DeBoer is on a team that doesn't recruit well. that doesn't track, does it?
I think if you go to a school like Alabama that pretty much like it's just you just put the key in and then they go and recruit and they have this massive recruiting staff and now all of a sudden you can't recruit, that's just odd. That's like you're doing it on purpose. Like maybe, before it's like, well, we just we got so wrapped up in the portal and blah, 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 blah. And then we had this, senior upper class heavy team. And he knew he was on his way out maybe anyway, him and Jimmy Sexton. So maybe they didn't recruit. And okay, cool. But if you go to Alabama and you're not recruiting at Alabama, and maybe that also coincides with the NIL stuff. Like they're not the only game in town anymore. And that's unfortunate timing to go to Alabama and then all of a sudden everybody else can pay players too. But it's a problem.
Absolutely.
They still had a top 5 class in 2026.
Yeah, it's not their standard. And they get inflated too, let's be honest.
Sure. I get it.
Absolutely. Well, we will go ahead and start the main topic of our podcast today. And that is we're unpacking the offense. We're going to go position by position and talk about what we kind of expect, who are the up and comers, position by position, and then maybe some dark horses in some position rooms,
Shout
like
out Katy
particularly.
Perry.
What was that?
Shout out Katy Perry, Dark Horse.
I did not. If we had Katy Perry reference on the bingo card, wow, what a win.
You never
So
know.
we will, yeah, you never know. Starting off strong with quarterbacks. Coach, you want to start us off and kind of talk about the room and what you're expecting to see?
I'm expecting to see them max protect as much as possible to keep Demond on the field. Otherwise, we are going to be in a world of hurt. You can say that about any starting quarterback, but I mean, the special talent that we have in the offense is Demond, and cross your fingers for a bunch of guys. So, Elijah Brown, maybe he's the backup, maybe he's not. The Stanford transfer, athletic kid that's not necessarily known for accuracy. And then you've got McMillan, and Zamet's probably going to redshirt. Who am I forgetting? Am I forgetting anybody in that room?
Chase Byerly.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah, Byerly. And I think McMillan is head and shoulders above him right now, and unless something changes in this game. But I can honestly see a scenario where if Demond misses any time, I think McMillan ascends to the starting role in a pinch. I just think that
You think he's the backup?
I think he might not be the backup right away, but I think he's the most electric of the guys in the room, other than Demond. And just when he got out there in spring game last year and as a true freshman, you just kind of like you saw. Like I had people I coached with that watched our spring game and said, McMillan, that kid, he can really just light it up out there with his legs, with his arm. He's not a big guy, but he's just very dynamic. So, I mean, I think DeMond's a top 3 or 4 quarterback in the conference, easy. But if aside from him, it's just all cross your fingers and hope.
Yeah, for sure. Trev, do you agree with Coach's assessment about if is McMillan going to slide in if Demond needs to take a week off for any reason?
I don't know. You bring in the Elijah Brown from Stanford. He's probably, so you're probably in a pinch putting him in to finish a game out. The reality is if Demond Williams goes down, this team is going to drastically underperform because as Demond Williams goes, so is this offense going to go this year. I think that, if from what I've listened to and read, there's been some stuff that Byerly's kind of making a little bit of a push for that quarterback 3 spot, but McMillan has kind of always been in that class. While he wasn't as highly decorated as Byerly was coming in from modern day, it seems like McMillan has played better in his, the spring games and things like that throughout the course of his career here. But again, if really what this conversation needs to be about is Demond Williams going to take the step that he needs to take. And from everything that's been said so far, he should be. I mean, just the progression of a quarterback, a progression under an offensive guy like JP Lossman and Coach Fish, he should be taking that step. If he cuts down on mistakes and he is more decisive and more on in rhythm, that's what you're kind of looking for out of him.
Is that what you're referring to as the next step, is like cutting down on mistakes and kind of just progressing through all of his reads?
Yeah, hitting guys when you're supposed to hit them, finding ways to get them on time, on target, and then knowing when to, use your legs and be dynamic that way. And it's not against the Illinois. He destroyed Illinois. It's not against Rutgers. It's against Ohio State. And this year it'll be Indiana, it'll be Oregon, and it'll be USC. Those are the ones, and like Iowa, right? But those teams you have to be able to be consistent, and that's the step that he needs to make.
What do you think, Jake?
Well, I think Trevor nailed it. Unfortunately, I have to agree with them on this one. Decision making. It's a quick read. And if your first and your second targets aren't there, it's a foot in the ground, plant and go. Too many times, Trevor mentioned Ohio State. I was at that game last year, and it just started getting frustrating watching the indecision on his part. And it's just one of those things that I think, again, Trevor's right. Everything that I've heard is that his decision making has gotten better this year, and hopefully that transcends into one or two more wins this season. Because if it does, then UW's staring down the barrel of a playoff game.
And
Absolutely.
we're
If we have
having a
two more wins.
conversation about an Alabama-Washington matchup in the first round.
I would.
Trevor is already salivating at that.
Let's talk
redemption.
Let's talk Austin Mack. No way Alabama's flinging the ball around this year.
Austin Mack has just been biding his time for the last 3 years.
9 years.
3 years.
Oh, good Lord. Well, let's move on to the running back room. We kind of talked about this last week, that there's no sort of big dog out there with the departure of Adam Muhammad. So who do we have to look forward to? And perhaps who do we see as maybe the guy who's going to be taking command, going to be RB1? Jake, let's start with you.
I mean, a slew of injuries. Adam Muhammad leaving. Jaden Lamar looks to be the best pass pro blocker that they have in that room right now. The Oregon transfer, I look for him to get quite a bit of snaps early in the season. As the season goes on, I'm kind of hoping for Brian Bonner Jr. to start getting a couple more touches here and there. He looks good, and I like the way that he runs. I mentioned him last week. I would expect halfway through the season you really start to see a lot more Bonner coming onto the field. Bonner coming onto the field. Oh my God.
Whoever had Jake gets canceled on episode 2 of this season. All right.
Yeah, which one of us?
Jake gets a Bonner.
Trevor, pass me the crown.
Next up's coach. Leah will round it out in week 4.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Trey Cooley's in that mix as well. Quade Carr has been a name that's kind of been out there as a guy they really like. And was he like a redshirt freshman? I mean, he's in his second year.
Term is second year now.
Everybody is just waiting to see what Brian Bonner with 2 N's is going to do as a true freshman. And the only question is he going to have enough opportunities early on in camp, or is this going to be one of those things where attrition comes in and he gets some snaps in a game and all of a sudden takes off? Or you remember, not that he's the level of recruit that Napoleon was, but you remember Napoleon had to play behind Bean O'Brien and Jay Berry, and they had all these fullbacks like Darius Turner and Matt Jones, and they just had a really crowded backfield, and every once in a while Napoleon would get in and just flash. And maybe you guys are too young to remember that, but it was like every time he got the ball, they would pitch it to him, you just hold your breath like, oh my God, here he comes. And I think for Bonner, I think that's going to be his calling card. Like he's just going to get in a game and just run for 65 yards and a touchdown or something like that. Kind of like when Rich Alexis came in 2000 and just that big play guy. And then just as the season goes on, maybe it gets more and more and more. But, to paraphrase Michael Scott, the only thing that I am worried about is getting a Bonner.
You mentioned Rich Alexis, and he, I think, was the star of the last time we got a win in Tempe, Arizona, which was in, I think, 2001 or 2002.
Good times.
I'm so glad we don't have to play ASU every year.
Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
I can't wait until Elise Woodward is yelling
against Miami in your first ever home game as a student.
Mm-hmm.
Love Rich.
Yes. Jakey, what were you going to say?
I can't wait until Elise Woodward is on the radio yelling, "There's a Bonner on the field."
Actually, that's a good segue because I think I forgot last week to shout her out. It's really fun to see her get the position because she's just a true dog and she's been in the program forever. She was a UW women's basketball alum. I watched most of the games that she played, and my favorite thing about Elise Woodward is that she is from Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. But
Sometimes,
yeah, like
sometimes kids make it out of those dark places.
absolutely. She found love in a hopeless place, right? Running back room seems like there's a lot of room for like we don't have any idea about what we're really going to expect. It's kind of a fun surprise. Hopefully, it's a fun surprise that we have an embarrassment of riches. It sounds like potentially.
The thing about Jaden Lamar is like I think he's a really good baseline for what the running back room can be to start the season. He has really like he's been hurt. He was going to be Oregon's lead back last year. He got hurt. He's not. I mean, he's good at everything. So like if he's your foundation that you make that running back room around, that's a good spot. We don't really know what Trey Cooley's going to be. He's never been healthy enough to get through a season. And then I mean really the talk of the spring and fall camp so far has been Quade Carr. And he's a burner. So like him, Bonner, home run kind of guys, Jaden Lamar is going to be a really solid at worst a passing running back and passing downs, if not a guy that you can just lean on for a bulk of carries. And it's really this room, it's going to really depend on health.
Can we find a way to work in someone like Ansu Sano, just a big 220, 30-pound guy every once in a while just to run some people over?
Yeah.
In case you guys were wondering, Jake went to the dentist today and he's still feeling a little loopy.
He got that pillow in.
A couple of them. I've got an upper deck and 4 pillows right now.
I'm so concerned and
Yeah,
confused. Well, should we move on to the wide receiving room?
Might as
Yeah.
well.
Well, we graduated our wide receiver 1, Denzel Boston. Gonna definitely miss him this year. Who's in the fresh crop of kids who are going to be in that core room? Trev?
There's so many guys in this room, but everything says that Desmond Roebuck is virtually unguardable. He's clearly your wide receiver 1. He's the guy that's going to get the bulk of the passes from Damon this year. He's going to be his number 1. And it really sounds like Christian Moss is starting to kind of separate himself as the clear number 2 with some other guys that are trying to make some moves. Chris Lawson has really been pushing. He's finally healthy. From what I saw from some Dogman stuff, they were really he was really pressing the other day. He dropped a couple of balls. He's fixed that. He's had some really good scrimmages. And then, of course, you have Rashid Williams, who's still lurking around there as well. So that's probably your top 4 right there. And then, we can get more into some of the guys down there, but it's Desmond Roebuck and find some other guys to find some production and really take advantage of the defense is focusing on him.
This room it vaguely reminds me of that 2019 UW football receiving room where there's a top 1 and a top 2, and then there's a giant fall off to the rest of the receivers. And we don't know what we have with the rest of the receivers. I mean, I think Trev's right. I mean, Desmond Roebuck is going to be by far the leading receiver on this team. And I wouldn't be surprised if the second leading receiver on this team was a tight end.
I would agree.
In my opinion, this is the biggest question mark we have on this roster right now. Bigger than the running backs. What do you think? We have a number 1 receiver. Maybe a number 2 has solidified himself, but after that, we don't know anything about it.
What do you think, Coach? Do you agree with Jake's point about this is the biggest question mark over the running back room?
Here's the thing. Everybody knows what, Desmond is coming back and everybody says he's number 1 receiver, but he played primarily out of the slot last year. And usually your number 1 receiver is not, in the slot. So I don't know if they're going to try to move him outside. I don't think they will just because of the body types they have outside already. I think I'm looking for, I'm really interested in seeing Christian Moss. Everybody keeps talking about him. He's a big kid, like just over 6 feet, 200 pounds. Um, I'm really excited to see Mason James, and I hope he gets to play this year as a true freshman. Getting him out of Norman, Oklahoma, and keeping him away from the Sooners. No offense, Jake. Um, deal. Mason James's film is just like, oh my God, I can't wait to see this kid on the field. Um, and then just some of the guys who have been in the program a couple years. I think like guys like, Jordan Clay are going to redshirt, Trez
Hmm.
Davis and whatnot. But Justice Williams, this is his year, make or break. Got to get him on the field. He's got to be healthy. And we just got to, use that 6'4", 215-pound frame and just kind of, see what he can do. He's got a lot of athleticism. Like I said, if he's healthy and he gets the opportunities and he starts making some plays, that's a dangerous room. But
Hmm.
it's all predicated on what the guys, you know, Dez is going to do, and hopefully he stays in the slot because I think that's his best area of expertise. And then we just need somebody to step up at the X position, somebody to step up at the Z position.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, Decker DeGraff's, if he's healthy, he's going to get 50 balls this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. Actually, it's a good opportunity for everybody else in the room outside of Desmond, because if they pop off because Des is going to be double covered, that's a great opportunity. So they're going to be open because there's not going to be a lot of respect for the unknown kind of variables in the wide receiving core. Trev, what do you think?
You know, Justice Williams is one of those really interesting guys that it seems like they could use him primarily right now. It seems like a lot of goal line stuff where he's a big body, he's doing some blocking out, and I'm hoping like the high end is what we thought Braden Linnaeus was going to be, where he's basically playing. He's a power forward getting a rebound. I think that's a good spot for him to be as he kind of progresses, because he was one of those project guys anyways that he came in like lanky and he's put on some weight. I'm really hoping that that you find some guys that play some really important roles. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was looking, I couldn't remember Braden Linnaeus' name, so I didn't actually hear your question. So I hope I answered it. Did
I
I?
think, I think the thing with him though is from all the stuff in high school, like he wasn't just a big body. Like the guy would just eat up turf. Like he just long, fast strides, really explosive kid. He's shown a couple flashes here and there, but for the most part, he just hasn't had, the time on the field and the opportunity. But
It
this
just
is
seemed like a lot of times in the spring games, and you've seen him, he's been pushed out of bounds a little bit by some corners. He's been out muscled a few times, and I'm hoping that that's one of those things where being in the program, maturing, some of those bigger guys, or taller guys, takes a little bit longer to fully find your athleticism. I'm hoping for something like that for Justice Williams, and I mean it would make Roman really happy because that's one of his favorite guys.
I mean, year three. I mean, this is the time to do it.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on to the tight end room. Is there anybody home in that room outside of Mr. DeGraff?
Cade Eldridge has got to be healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
they picked him over. I'm not going to name any names, but some other quarterbacks or tight ends in the portal who I thought might have been pretty good. One of them starting at Oregon State this year, no big deal. But Baron Naoni, or however you say his name, the kid
Yeah.
from Oregon, is a freaking athletic stud. And this is going to be a really fun thing to watch him go.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that.
It's if Cade Eldridge is healthy, he caught a couple of balls last year. He left USC because he was basically being used as an H-back and he wasn't really getting any balls thrown his way. Naone is the one that's really kind of taken on that second tight end role, but all roads lead to Decker DeGraff.
Naoni was one of those kids like he might play edge, he might play defense. He was just such a physical, athletic kid, and now he's got a year under his belt, and I'm excited for him. It's not the same player, but when Hunter Bryant came into the program, and I was like, oh, this kid, and I flew up for the Cal game that year where it was his breakout game. I was like talking about him in pregame, and then he had 100 yards against Cal, and just kind of like looked like a dude, and I'm hoping he has a similar, ascension.
Yeah. And then offensive line. This is, I think it's Coach's favorite room historically. You want to start us off, Coach, what to expect?
Expect what I'm hoping for more than anything is health. But what I expect is that they're going to use these first 3 games to kind of get on the same page, synchronize. Hopefully defenses, even these smaller tier teams, I hope they just give us a lot of looks. So there's a lot of communication, a lot of going back to the sideline and like, hey, I'm going to pass this guy off to you. Obviously, there's no. I mean, I just saw Jed talking about it the other day on I think Jim Rome. Kodi Greene, starting left tackle. It's going to be his baptism by fire. And honestly, he's such a talented kid. I'm really rooting for him. It's just how often is he going to have help? And I'm not talking about the games against Eastern Washington or Utah State or whatever. Just when you get in those big games, I know that throughout the first 2 years, and I've been screaming it from the rooftops every time we play against an Abdul Carter or some stud, Reese and the guys at Ohio State, we refuse to help. And we've had some backups to backups playing left tackle for us the last couple of years because of the injuries, and they just don't help. And we leave these guys on islands, and I'm like, if that's the plan, okay, Kodi, your coach believes in you. Let's go. But across the board, I mean, Mills is solid, obviously, freshman All-American last year. Landon's going to be a senior. I really feel like Champ is going to overtake G. Hatchett. Drew has a party. And we still got a solo. And I'm a kid from a couple years ago that I was really excited about that I hope gets some serious reps this year is Justin Hilkema, the incredible Hilk with the Moose or whatever you want to call him. I'm a big fan of him, and I hope that he gets some reps this year because he's such a massive human, and I think he can do damage.
Well, I think that you just said the starting 5. And I don't know if there's a lot of. The only question is like, is Landon going to be 100% by the time you get to Minnesota? Colt Dietrich has been playing all over the place. He's even been taking snaps at center, as is Jake Flores. It looks like Garion's probably, or Fasolo's your backup tackle on either side, and then you have Gary and Hatchett as kind of that can kind of play anywhere on the interior if needed. But I mean, if this group stays healthy, I think it's a really good group. I think that Kodi Greene, I mean, the reality is like what you were saying, Coach, they've put guys on an island against USC that are now playing at the G5 or G6 level. So like if they didn't do it for them, Kodi Greene will be on his own there. I mean, obviously his ceiling is way higher. His floor is way higher than some of those guys that they had out there. And a mistake here and there by Kodi Greene leads to a development. I'm very much for it, and I think this offensive line could be really solid for them and be a reason why you see Washington beat a team finally that they're not supposed to beat.
But just remember, Mills last year stayed relatively healthy. He got banged up a little bit like everybody does. It is the exception, not the rule, that true freshmen stay healthy playing Division I football along the lines. And I mean, some of the best players we've ever seen redshirted. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's a concern. I don't know that I feel comfortable if one or two of these guys goes down again. Like Harvard missed a bunch of time last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's why you lose to Wisconsin
what's
too.
in the depth is just as important as what's in the starting lineup right now.
Which
Absolutely.
the depth is better than it's been over the course of the years that Jed Fish has been here. Obviously, 2024 doesn't count, but it's some of the guys are the same names. They're just better. But then you bring it. I love Colt Dietrich being not a starter, where you can plug him in, and he's a guy that's played a lot of football.
2 springs ago, when I was up for the clinic and I was in the indoor facility watching practice, I almost stepped in and took reps. That's how shorthanded they were.
Yeah.
It was like me and Danny Shelton and Roman all sitting on the sideline, standing on the sideline there, and I looked at Danny. I'm like, he doesn't look like he he doesn't have any eligibility left. I think I could still go out there and get a couple cups. But yeah,
What you
no
got,
crowd.
Farfa?
Hey, hey, Jake, do you want to talk about the exponential improvement of Drew as a party?
I mean, I really like where he's at right now. I really, really do. If you look at how he played his first year in purple and gold and how he played last year, exponentially he's gotten better, right, Coach? The thing is, I think if you like, I think if you took not Drew, but if you took Kodi Greene off this offensive line, I think that that offensive line looks a lot worse going into this year than it does without him in the starting lineup. Uh, Although he is a freshman, I do agree with Coach. It is tough for freshmen to stay healthy. If you listen to John Mills, who was a freshman All-American, talk about Kodi Greene, which I have listened to John Mills talk about him, he says not only is he a physical freak, but the way that he goes to practice every day and he competes and he learns and he hustles, he said his work ethic is second to nobody on that offensive line. And as an incoming freshman, there's no better spot that I feel better about than your left tackle being that guy if he's a true freshman. If you're going to start a true freshman at your left tackle, the most important position on the field, then he better have that work ethic. And it sounds like he's doing exactly everything that he should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that Cole Dietrich is there, and he's going to be that utility guy, hopefully, and he's got experience. Obviously, he's
Mm-hmm.
got enough size. He's he played a lower level, but I think that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Absolutely. So we've gone over all of the positions. Do we have any sort of dark horse candidates, folks that could come out of the woodwork and really surprise us and shine on this team?
Mason
I will
James.
go ahead, Coach.
Sorry, Mason James. That's my dude. Until somebody tells me he's going to redshirt, I think that he's lightning in a bottle, and I think that once he gets the ball in his hands, it's going to be pretty apparent.
Before Trev takes mine, I'm going to speak up. Coach already kind of alluded to him, Baron Naoni. I think that there's going to be a lot of eyes on Decker DeGraff this year. I think he can be kind of that outlet that the receivers and Decker could use, and I think that he's a big play guy, even at a tight end spot, and I think that you could see him make some pretty spectacular plays throughout the season. Not a lot of balls thrown his way, but I think that the balls that are thrown his way are going to be impactful.
Mine are all really in the wide receiver room. I really do like Mason James, but Chris Lawson was one of my favorite players in that class. And a guy that I haven't heard a lot about yet that I'm curious where he's at is Desi Adoji. He's another guy that I really liked. I haven't heard a ton about. So, I mean, that's a dark horse, I guess, because it's not somebody that's necessarily been talked about. But I am
Mm-hmm.
curious. I know this is like a season preview, so maybe this is a bad choice, but like, what is he going to turn into at the University of Washington? Because he was another one of those guys where him, Chris Lawson, and then Dez, and then the guy that transferred to ASU. I thought that was just like such a great four guys to come in at the same time. I really hope Adozi finds a place on this roster, and it could be one of those things that, if some of those guys that are mentioned before, whether it's inefficiency or injury, if he's gonna get a shot this year in a game that matters.
Mm-hmm. We'll round it out by I did not prepare you guys for this, but if the Huskies go 10-2 before a bowl, who is the offensive MVP?
The
I
quarterback.
mean, it's got to be DeMond.
I think it's
Yeah.
either DeMond or Desmond Roebuck.
Somebody's got to throw Dez the ball. And if we're 10-2, DeMond is probably rushed for 800 yards at least.
Minimum.
Right.
Yeah.
10-2 is like you're winning because you stayed like such a good version of healthy, where all the guys that you need to stay healthy stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And a running back pops and a second receiver pops, and Kodi Greene is everything that's advertised.
Mm-hmm. Healthy is the most important thing, and also, like, to your point, both Trev and coach are talking about. We're saying, Jake, like if the Huskies go 10-2, who's the offensive MVP? We're kind of pretty much all in agreement it's probably Demond.
Yeah, it has to be, right? For the team to be successful, it has to be Demond.
But for us to be 10-2, we're also going to need huge freshman contributions from, Coleman Brusa at 3 technique and Kodi Greene, and just, the list goes on and on. And we'll get into the defense a little bit later, but there are like 2 or 3 really stud freshmen who are going to get a chance to not redshirt this next year, along with the guys who didn't redshirt last year. And it's an exciting group. We'll get to that next time, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, on that note, we will wrap up the pod for tonight. That'll do it for another episode of Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast. Please go ahead and rate and review 5 stars our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or your preferred platform. What, Coach?
5-star.
A 5-star. 4, 3, 4, 5 stars on Apple, Spotify, or your preferred platform. Or you can just go ahead and give us a 3-star and just attribute it to Coach, because he's going to get canceled next week. I'm kidding. Go and hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, Fourth and Inches, a Husky podcast -J3X. Go check us out on Patreon and consider supporting our work at about $5 a month. We'd sure love it. We will be back next week to talk about the defense, arguably the strength of this 2026 UW football team. And you know what? Let's see who gets canceled next week. You'll have to listen to stay up to date.
Shout out Big Honors.
Also, though, the fans need to let us know, all 5 of them, whether or not they would appreciate some Jake-themed T-shirts, some merchandise, T-shirt exponentially, and ain't no party like an as a party.
I love that.
I think those 2 things would be like really hot sellers. So
I actually love this idea. Please comment on the podcast on Twitter, or leave a comment on Apple or Spotify if you would like to see those podcasts, because we can those T-shirts, because we can absolutely produce those. But until then, for Jake Grant, Trevor Mueller, and Coach V, I am UW Leah. There will be ample opportunity for the 2026 Dogs to show out offensively, and whether they can consistently put up points on the road as well as they do on Montlake remains to be seen. The good news is they probably won't lose a football game 22-0. Thanks for listening, Purple Gang. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go
Dogs.
Shout out J-Cap.
Shout out J-Cap.